What's up guys, Jason here. In this video I'm going to be teaching you how to make a simple and efficient Minecraft Bedrock creeper farm. This farm works on 1.21 and on all platforms of Minecraft Bedrock, whether you play on a phone, tablet, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, or PC. By the way, this farm is more efficient than my previous creeper farm. As you guys can see here, this farm quickly produces a ton of gunpowder. The materials list for this farm is in the description. The first step is to choose an area to make this farm at. You can make this farm over land, however I recommend that you make it over an ocean. By the way, make sure you don't make it in a river biome. That's because creepers don't spawn in river biomes. If you choose to make this farm over land, first build up at least 130 blocks above land. If you choose to make this farm over an ocean, first go at least 130 blocks away from any land. Once you're at least 130 blocks away from any land, go down to the ocean floor. Then place solid blocks from the ocean floor to the ocean surface. Once you have done that, build up 130 blocks over the ocean surface. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. After you have placed those 130 blocks, go back down here. Then place ladders from here to the top of this pillar. These ladders will allow you to easily access the farm. By making this farm higher in the air, you will prevent mobs from spawning below it. That will cause more creepers to spawn in the farm. Once you are done placing those ladders, place a solid block over here and 2 solid blocks over here. Then place 5 solid blocks over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now fill in this outline with solid blocks. The next step is to place a piston at each of these spots. Make sure those pistons face the correct directions. Now place a redstone torch at each of these spots. Once you have placed those redstone torches, place an observer over here. Make sure the top arrow of that observer is facing that piston. Then place another observer over here. Make sure the top arrow of that observer is facing that way. Then place an observer at the spot. The top arrow of that observer should be facing that piston. Finally, place an observer over here. Make sure the top arrow of that observer is facing that way. It's really important that all your pistons, redstone torches, and observers are placed correctly. Now break these 4 blocks. Then place 2 hay bales over here, and 2 hay bales over here. Those hay bales will prevent creepers from dying of fall damage. The next step is to place 4 solid blocks over here. Then place 3 over here, and 3 on this side as well. The next step is to throw a trident at that piston. By the way, the trident can have any level of durability because it will never break in this farm. Now place a lever over here, then flick it down. Once those pistons stop moving, flick it up. As you guys can see there, that should cause those pistons to move around infinitely. This will be the trident killer in this farm. It will automatically kill all the creepers. Now flick this lever down to shut it off. Then place 4 glass blocks over here. Those glass blocks will allow you to see the creepers fall into the kill chamber. Now place a solid block at each of these spots. Then place another layer of solid blocks like this. After you have done that, go down here. Then count 4 blocks down from this spot. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then place 2 blocks over here, and 4 blocks over here. Then crouch down and place 2 chests over here. Now crouch down and place a hopper on this chest. Make sure the nozzle of that hopper is pointing downwards towards that chest. Then crouch down and place a rail over here. By the way, it does not matter what direction the rail is facing. Then place a minecart with hopper at this spot. At this point, make sure the minecart with hopper is under that hay bale. Then place a solid block at each of these spots. This will be the collection system in this farm. The minecart with hopper will collect all the gunpowder. The gunpowder will then get funneled down by that hopper into that chest. The next step is to place a torch at each of these spots. These torches will prevent mobs from spawning on these areas. The next step is to place a solid block at each of these spots. Then place 17 solid blocks over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. After you have placed those 17 blocks, go down here. Then place 17 blocks at each of these other spots as well. After you're done with that step, the farm should look like that. The next step is to place a solid block at each of these spots. Then place 8 blocks over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now go to this side. Then place 8 blocks over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Once you have done that, go over here. Then place 8 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Finally, go to this side. Then place 8 blocks over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. After you have created that outline, fill it in with solid blocks. After you're done with that step, the farm should look like that. The next step is to create a 1 block high wall around this platform. After you're done creating that wall, the farm should look like that. The next step is to go over to this corner. Then place 3 blocks over here, and 3 blocks over here as well. Now repeat placing blocks like that in those 3 other corners. This will create another outline. Once you're done with that step, fill in that outer outline with solid blocks. After you're done with that step, the farm should have a platform that is 26 blocks wide and 26 blocks long. The next step is to create a 1 block high wall around this platform. After you're done creating that wall, place stairs on the wall. After you are done placing those stairs, create an infinite water source. To do that, first place blocks in this formation. Now place water over here and water over here. By creating that infinite water source, you will be able to use 2 buckets to fill in all the water for the entire farm. Now place water in each stair. After you're done with that step, the water should flow like that. It will push all the creepers that fall down there over to the kill chamber. At this point, fill in and break the infinite water source. The next step is to go to this corner. Now place 4 blocks over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then break these 3 blocks. Once you have done that, place 20 blocks over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. After you are done placing those 20 blocks, place a block at the spot. Then count 2 blocks to the left. 1, 2. Then place a block over here. Now repeat placing blocks in that pattern until you get to that side. Once you're done placing all those blocks, place 19 blocks over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Then place 19 blocks at each of those other spots as well. After you're done with that step, the farm should look like that. The next step is to go over to this corner. Now count 2 blocks to the right of this spot. 1, 2. Then place a block at each of these spots. Then count 2 blocks to the right of this spot. 1, 2. Now place a block at each of these spots. Now continue placing blocks in that pattern until you get to that side. Once you are done placing all those blocks, the farm should look like that. The next step is to go to this corner. Then place a trapdoor at this spot. Now count 2 blocks to the right. 1, 2. Then place a button over here. By the way, it does not matter what direction the button is facing. Then count 2 blocks to the right again. 1, 2. Then place a trapdoor over here. Then count 2 blocks to the right of this spot. 1, 2. Then place a button over here. Now repeat placing buttons and trapdoors in that pattern until you get to that side. Once you're done placing those trapdoors and buttons, go over to this spot. Then count 2 blocks forward from here. 1, 2. Then place a button over here. Now count 2 blocks to the left. 1, 2. Then place a trapdoor at this spot. Now continue placing buttons and trapdoors in that pattern until you get to that side. Once you're done placing those buttons and trapdoors, count 2 blocks forward from this spot. 1, 2. Then place a trapdoor over here. Now count 2 blocks to the right. Then place a button over here. Now continue placing buttons and trapdoors in that pattern until you get to that side. At this point, the farm should look like that. As you guys can see there is an alternating pattern of trapdoors and buttons. Now continue placing buttons and trapdoors in that pattern for the rest of this layer. It's really important that you place the buttons and trapdoors at the correct spots. These buttons and trapdoors will prevent spiders from spawning in the farm. After you are done creating that alternating pattern of buttons and trapdoors, the farm should look like that. It's really important that you place all the buttons and trapdoors at the correct spots. Each trapdoor should not be directly next to any other trapdoors. For example, as you guys can see here, this trapdoor does not have a trapdoor directly in front of it, behind it, to the left of it, or to the right of it. It is surrounded by buttons. The next step is to go over to this corner. Then place a trapdoor at this spot and open it. By doing that, creepers will walk off into this hole. That is because creepers see trapdoors as full blocks. At this point, place trapdoors like that in other holes. Once you are done placing all those trapdoors, the farm should look like that. That will be the first creeper spawning layer in the farm. The next step is to create 5 more creeper spawning layers. Make each creeper spawning layer 2 blocks above the one below it. By the way, each creeper spawning layer should be exactly the same as the layer below it. I know this seems tedious, however it is worth it because this farm produces a ton of gunpowder. After you are done with that step, there should be a total of 6 creeper spawning layers. Each creeper spawning layer should be 2 blocks above the layer below it. Make sure the buttons and trapdoors are placed at the same spots on every layer. Also, make sure the holes on the layers are aligned over each other. By the way, make sure all the trapdoors in the holes are on the same side. The next step is to go over to this corner. Now place a button above every block on this layer that does not have a trapdoor or button on it. For example, this block does not have a button or trapdoor on it, so I need to place a button over here. This block also does not have a button or trapdoor on it, so I need to place a button over here. By placing these buttons, you'll prevent zombies and skeletons from spawning in this farm. That is because they are too tall to spawn under the buttons. By preventing zombies and skeletons from spawning in the farm, more creepers will spawn. Once you're done with that step, the farm should look like that. The next step is to repeat placing buttons like that on all the other layers except for the top layer. We are going to place the buttons for the top layer later. Place a button above each block that does not have a button or trapdoor on it. Once you're done with that step, the farm should look like this. As you guys can see here, every block on each layer that does not have a button or trapdoor on it has a button above it. The next step is to go to this corner. Then crouch down and place 2 solid blocks over here. Then break this block. Once you have done that, place 12 blocks over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then go back over to this spot. Now place 12 blocks over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. After you're done with that step, repeat placing blocks like that in those other 3 corners. Once you're done placing all those blocks, the farm should look like that. The next step is to fill in this outline with solid blocks. By doing this, you will create the roof of the farm. The roof will make the farm dark so that creepers will spawn both in the day and at night. Once you have created that roof, cover the roof with slabs. These slabs will prevent mobs from spawning on the roof. That will cause more creepers to spawn in the farm. After you're done placing all those slabs, the farm should look like that. The next step is to go over to this top layer. Then place a button above every block on this layer that does not have a button or trapdoor on top of it. By the way, you can temporarily place some torches if you want to make it easier to see. These buttons will prevent skeletons and zombies from spawning in the farm. After you're done with that step, the farm should look like that. At this point, if you placed any torches up here earlier, make sure you break them. That is because this farm needs to be dark for creepers to spawn. I am now going to do a quick fly around so you can check and make sure I've made this farm correctly. By the way, this farm should be dark. The reason why it looks bright right now is because I have night vision. Over here, there should be the trident killer and collection system. Over here, there should be the drop tube. Up here, there should be this water platform. Make sure all the water flows towards the center. Over here, there should be the creeper spawning layers. It's really important that you place all the buttons and trapdoors at the correct spots. Also, make sure each creeper spawning layer is 2 blocks above the one below it. Also, make sure all the trapdoors in the holes are open and are on the same side. That will allow creepers to fall down there. Finally, up here, there should be the roof. I am now going to show you all how to use this farm. To use it, first go down here. Once you're standing on this platform, flick this lever up. At this point, just wait. Creepers will spawn on the creeper spawning layers. By the way, only creepers will be able to spawn because of the buttons and trapdoors. Whenever creepers spawn, they will eventually walk off into a hole because they see the trapdoors in the holes as full blocks. They will then get pushed by the water stream into this kill chamber. In the kill chamber, they will get automatically killed. You will collect the XP over here and the gunpowder will get funneled down into the collections chest. By the way, if you want to get more gunpowder at a time, you can hold a sword that is enchanted with looting 3. The looting 3 effect will be applied to the trident. This farm is a great quick and easy way to get a ton of gunpowder. Whenever you are done using this farm, flick this lever down to shut the trident killer off. You can collect the gunpowder down here. If this farm does not work for you, try switching your world difficulty to peaceful and then to hard. If mobs spawn on land below the farm while you're standing up here, try setting your world simulation distance to 4 chunks. You can do that by leaving your world then going into the world settings. If you don't want to do that, another option is to cover any areas where mobs spawn outside the farm while you're standing up here with torches. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make this simple and efficient Minecraft Bedrock creeper farm. Please like, comment, subscribe, and check out other Minecraft videos. Thanks for watching.